Thank you, Maggie. Can you start again, please?
Yes. I had a very exciting day over at Gallery 210, which at the University of Missouri, St. Louis. And I'm sure Julie Hale recognizes this is the art of kawaii, Kawaii, and it's the world of Japanese cute. And this was sponsored by many of the Missouri Arts Council. Thank you, Julie, and the Missouri Arts Council. And we had many friends from different departments across the university come and see this exhibit that's now at Gallery 210. And many of them brought their small children and older children with them. And they said, the kids love Hello Kitty. And this is very popular with all ages. And it's not just cute. And they look at the art of culture, of politics, of connections. And it's sponsored by different Japanese studies and global studies across the university. And it's the whole purpose of this is to reopen doors of communication through the arts. And I think you could see this through this is the brochure that they, and again, it was a fantastic afternoon. And the show runs through November 18th, so it's going to be up for a long time.
Thank you, Maggie. Thanks for sharing that.
Thanks, Julie, for supporting that show at UMSL.
I guess that was through the Gallery 210 grant.
Yes.
Cool. Excellent.
Is there any teacher outreach planned through this particular exhibit, Maggie, that you know of?
Well, all I can say is it's highly popular with especially pre-K through 5th grade. And the classroom teachers are clamoring to bring kids over to see the show. And the only hitch is now to dig up money for the bus to pay for the buses to bus the kids over to see the show.
Well, there is the school bus grant, and Gallery 210 is a Missouri Arts Council beneficiary. What do I say? Grantee. That's what I say. Grantee. And so they would be eligible to apply for school bus grant funds, Maggie, to come
through how would they do this? Because I'll definitely get back to these teachers that were asking how can we get over there.
I will look for the link and put it in the chat. There's a link directly on the Missouri Arts Council website that can point you to the school bus grants.
Okay.
Yeah, Maggie, the school district would be the grant applicant, and they could work with Jenny Ryan in my office to register in the grant system and find the right application form.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm hearing some bing bong sounds, but I was looking for the grant application form. It's Lauren Hanahan. Yay. So glad that you were here. We were sharing some successes right before you came, Lauren, but I'd like to introduce you at some point. So what I think I'll do is finish it and see if anybody else has something that they would like to share. And then when they're finished, I'll introduce you and let you meet everybody else that's here, if that's okay. Is there someone else who had something in particular, that a question they wanted to ask, or a success story that's happened recently that they want to share?
In my college classes right now, this week, we're writing ekphrastic poetry, where they choose an artwork and then write some poetry about it. And they did last week just some free verse, just an original poem. And I have, these are for the most part college freshmen, and several of them said they hadn't written a poem since 6th grade. And even then, and it was just a haiku. So, so my victory is that they are writing some poetry. And so this week, the challenge is to now write about some visual art, so that's my news for the week.
That is, I think that's great. Of course, I'm a big fan of poetry any which way. And, there are other English language arts teachers that I've spoken with that say poetry is very much neglected, generally speaking.
Yeah.
There just seem to be so many other priorities.
Mhm.
And so go you.
No.
Make new haikus.
Well, yeah, April's National Poetry Month, so that tends to be when people focus on poetry, but I really think it needs to be, it's kids love it, kids respond to it. You just have to encourage them to do it. You have to assign it, but that's okay.
And there's
Assigning gets it
something
done, that's okay.
there, I don't know if it's just distinctive to me, but there's something so powerful in creating with the spoken word.
Mhm.
That process of creating poetry or finding poetry. I've done workshops and experiences through Arts Integration, actually, where there's well, never mind. I think I know we're going to experience this in just a minute. So
I was just going to say, I feel like I joined at the perfect time.
do not.
Stay
I have to say to myself, oh, I almost stole some thunder there. We don't want to go.
No, Phyllis wanted me to introduce myself to the group, but I was like, there's no way I can talk about myself for 15 minutes. So I wanted to do something with you, and I'm going to let you guys finish your conversation, but it is an interesting way to look at poetry in a non-threatening type of way to kind of like start that momentum and process. So I would be really curious to hear your thoughts after we go through a little lesson here together in a minute.
Awesome. Thank you. Marissa or Stephanie, is there anything you wanted to ask or share today? Nope. Okay.
I have dogs that may try to make their presence known, so like that. I am looking forward to incorporating more of the arts in with gifted education in a way to kind of bridge some of the, I feel like it's often forgotten, the A part of STEM for STEAM. So that's one of my goals for this year.
Thank you so much, Marissa. And there may be people on the call today who can lend some support in that direction. It is something that I've observed, even schools that call themselves STEAM schools sometimes still have the arts in isolation, like in that rubric or that continuum I shared earlier, that they're kind of still doing their own fine arts siloed lane, and they're adjacent to, but not truly integrated into the STEM ecosystem in all places. So I'll go you, Marissa, more STEAM in STEM.
She needs to come to our November 15th workshop that for the gifted.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's gonna be in St. Louis, correct?
Actually, it's going to be online, I think, through the Gifted and
Ooh.
Talented Tuesdays.
Mhm.
Oh, hey,
We're
look,
having,
I need to check hers.
and this might
Yeah.
be of interest to Stephanie too, artistic and autistic in that juxtaposition of gifts.
When is this?
November 15th. I think is it 3:00 p.m. or 4:00 p.m., Maggie? Do you remember the
3
time?
o'clock.
3?
And Tom Tobias, me, Phyllis, and
Yes. Christine
Christine.
Noby, who is the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's gifted department director. a gifted director, gifted education director, I guess is her. I'm not sure of what her title is actually, but she has sponsored similar to this, a professional learning network and professional learning opportunities for gifted teachers every Tuesday. Sometimes they are talking about departmental curricular sorts of things. Sometimes there are guest speakers who are coming in to share. And I think the first one of the month is always about space, because that's a particular love of Christine's, to have teachers, particularly teachers of gifted students, to embrace the work of NASA and other agencies that are dealing with interplanetary.
You said it's on the 15th at 3.
Yes,
It's online.
online.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
I
so,
don't actually get out until 3:45, so I'm not sure, but I'll see what I can do.
okay, Stephanie, we'd love to have you. But she sponsors these regularly. And when she put out a call for presentations, and it's something that Maggie and Tom and I've been talking about for a while. So we signed up to do the November one, and we have one coming up in January too. That's actually going to be very visual arts focused, about the arts treasures at our state capitol. So anyway, those are coming up soon. And I think this is a great time for me to just introduce Lauren Hanahan, let you guys get to meet her. I'm super excited to be working with her. She is the Arts Integration Specialist for the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education. She has a day job, which is why she couldn't quite come at 4 o'clock, and also why we are shifting our meeting times to 4:30 beginning in January, so that Lauren can be present for all of those instead of just the last part of them. So super excited to have her. Lauren, would you mind sharing a little bit of your background and your bio, and then walk us through the learning experience that you have planned?
Yeah, I will jump right in. I recognize some people on the call, and Marilyn, it sounds like you're at the college level. And then Stephanie and Marissa, could you just let me know maybe what you guys are teaching, just for some context?
I have gifted from first grade on up through 12th, but the majority of my students originally had been middle school. Now it's more elementary students at this point.
Okay.
And I teach kindergarten through 8th grade special education.
Okay, great. All right, well, I'm gonna share my screen, and then, like I said, I'm gonna talk a little bit about myself, and then definitely need to engage at some point, because I can't do too much talking. I am a previous first grade teacher, so so thank you guys so much for joining. I don't know if everybody's heard the news of what has happened in St. Louis today, but you know, whenever there's something that hits close to home, it's hard to not just rush home and be with your baby. So I appreciate everybody taking time to jump on this call with us, and continue learning and you know, doing what's best for your school babies. So a little bit about me. I've been in education for 11, 12 years at this point. I have been at a school in Fredericksburg, Virginia for all of my career, and started there as a kindergarten, first grade multi-age teacher, and then transitioned into a traditional first grade teacher. And that's where I really kind of built my confidence as a teacher and started exploring different avenues and opportunities for my students. And it was there that I learned about changing education through the arts, which is a program that's run through the Kennedy Center in DC. And I just was immediately hooked and fascinated, and had to soak up every little bit of training that I could through them. And while I was close by, I don't know if anybody's ever visited DC, but you know, it's an hour south where I was working, and that trip could take anywhere from 45 minutes to 3 hours to get to DC. So it was quite a commitment to take time to drive up for these trainings, but it was well worth it. And I learned a ton, and just became like a huge passion and inspiration for me in my teaching career. And I was asked after a few years to step out and become an instructional coach for our school and really build up our arts integration program, focusing on artist in residency programs, consistent professional development for our teachers and staff. I was able to do a lot of coaching cycles with staff members who were feeling a little eager and or felt really confident and just wanted some, to take more in. And also supported writing new curriculum to make arts integration, like Marissa, you said, like really focus on that A and bring the A into our, what was a STEM school, and then transitioned into a STEAM school through this time. So about a year ago, almost exactly, I moved to St. Louis because of these two little rascals here. These are my two nieces, and I kind of had that COVID epiphany of, what am I doing in Virginia? I've been here for a long time, but I don't really have any family close. It just kind of was the place that I landed. And while I loved my school and loved what I was doing, during that time of isolation, I just really had that thought of, I want to be able to pick my nieces up from school and like go grab ice cream. And we got to do that the first week of school this year, which was really exciting. So, I came here so that I could be with them more. But a bonus to that was that I also got to get really close with Phyllis and learn about this great organization and how I can help support arts integration practices here. And so please, I'll make sure to share my email with everybody at the end, but questions you have, exciting things that are going on that you are doing in your schools or colleagues are doing, please share with me. I'm so eager and excited to build a network and a community of teachers in the state. So, but enough about me. That's all I can do for now. Today, what I wanted to do was an activity called Blackout Poetry. And so just by looking at this title page here, I am going to have you guys kind of talk back and forth with me, pretend like we're teacher students. So what do you think it means to create a blackout poem, just by looking at this picture?
Text. And a marker.
What else?
Or pieces of paper, maybe.
Blacking out what you don't want in the poem.
Yeah. So basically what we're going to do is take a text that's already written and created, and then we are going to create something brand new from it. We're going to create a new poem. It might have new context. It might have a completely different meaning or undertone, but it's going to be something unique and special to us. This is a great way to introduce poetry or bring poetry back in. I'll pause on my teacher talk for a second and do some real talk. This is kind of a non-invasive way to get students into poetry. Like at an elementary level, it's very intimidating, and it sounds like it can still be intimidating even up to the college level when you haven't done it in a while. So this is kind of a nice opportunity to, like, something's already there, it's already written, and we're just pulling out the pieces that we want to use to create something. So we're gonna dive in together, and then I'm gonna give you a chance to try one on your own. I will preface that, this is not going to be a truly arts integrated lesson, especially in the time frame that we have. It is going to lean a little more arts enhanced. But as we're working through it, just continually think through that reflective practitioner mind on how an extended version of this could really be an arts integrated practice, and or how it could fit into what you're doing with your students or somewhere in your curriculum. So I want to take a look at a couple examples. And I want you to think, what do you see here?
One of the things I see is that the poem on the page creates a path, kind of like connect the dots following to get to its point. And I think that that's particularly effective when people might read them in a different order had those connection points not been there.
Mhm.
And if anybody
Yeah,
wants,
the way they've connected the words with the white space, that solves that problem, because Phyllis, that's a lot of times is a problem with blackout poetry, is knowing what the order is, and so that solves that problem. That's cool.
great, let's take a look at another example. What's something that you like about this one, or what artistic choices can you see that the poet made here? Or what would you have done differently? You could think of it a lot of different ways here.
I would have loved to know what the original message was. I'm getting the impression that this originally may have been something written about something that maybe wasn't very successful, and they clipped out bits to kind of say, well, but, and make it a positive message. So I'd be interested. I think differently I would have done would have either to have been the shown the original and then this one side by side, or maybe made the blackout a little more or a little less opaque.
I'm personally having such a strong connection to the Titanic when I read
Right.
the text, based on my knowledge of the musicians that played while the ship was sinking.
Mm.
It almost made me wish that the blacked out section took the profile of the ship, became the profile of the ship in some way. But
Yeah.
the black, only black, is also very stark.
Mhm.
And the way it falls down the page is sinking, which is just a different kind of visual representation.
Yeah, let's take a look at another one. It's okay to not focus too much on what the words are saying in these examples. For this, we're really looking at some of the artistic choices that they're making, and ways that you can create a blackout poem. So for example, in the previous one with the stark black background, versus this one, we have a little bit more of that transparency of the text behind it, but also, think through what are some of the choices that the artist poet made to relay their message.
The artistic choice to have it be red and white and black all over, or black and white and red all over, makes me laugh. In case you haven't heard that old joke, and I'm dating myself, I suppose, since very few of us read newspapers anymore.
That used to be my go-to joke, my go-to riddle.
What's black and white and red all over?
I could see this being used with any subject to create a poem. So I was looking, that's scientific, the vestibular system.
Mhm.
And then there's Aristotle there. So it's interesting.
Marissa, I think you're absolutely right, that it can apply to any subject area, any piece of text can become poetry.
Great. Let's take a look at, I'm gonna skip actually, just for time, let's skip to this one to close it up.
Is it possible that you could share these slides with us later?
Sure. Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Yeah, so what do you see? What do you notice with this one? What are some of the things you like, maybe things you would do differently? What's kind of drawing your eye here?
I do something similar to this where they repurpose old books. At first, it really bothered me to go to the library and get books that were pulled out of circulation, but then I realized they're just going to go in the trash if I don't reuse them like this. And we started creating junk journals. So that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
Very cool. I'm struck by the way that the text, which comes through the stem of the flower, provides so much texture to that particular part of the piece.
Yeah, so choosing to leave that little bit of white space and have those letters kind of pop through versus just completely covering it up with a color. Absolutely.
And look at the coloration on the petals,
Mhm.
you know, the gradation and the letters, combining color and lettering
Mhm.
and space.
And something I'm even noticing, I mean, I've looked at this before, but just now that you're saying that, it's drawing my eyes to the color choices that they made as well. And then that word fire and how there's like those reds and oranges and yellows that they chose
Right.
to potentially match that tone and texture. Very cool. So those are a few ways that other artists have created blackout poems. And like you noticed, there can be, like, for instance, here, an actual representation of something that's mentioned in the poem. It could be something as simple as just that bold black background with the words really popping to make that feeling come through. There could be a little bit of that shading to allow for the background to pop in and out. Or even like on this previous one, just as simple as highlighting the parts you want us to focus on and read and adding in that title to really like hone it in and wrap it all up. So I want us to try one together. And as we're doing that, I want you to keep this quote in mind, because as we start, I think we're going to want to create something that matches the background text that I give you. And that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. So for instance, if I give you a like scientific book that we found at the library that was going to just get trashed and we want to repurpose it in some way, my poem doesn't have to be about science and what's on that page. It can be, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Okay, so as we're looking through this, I want you to keep this in mind that, you know, I've never started a poem whose ending I knew. Writing a poem is discovery. So as we're working through, we're going to be discovering and pulling out pieces that connect with us and vibe with us, and we're going to see what comes out of it at the end. So I'm going to switch screens here to pull up our poem. And actually, the text we're going to start with for this practice is pulled from an article. And it is an arts integration article. So does that look okay? Is that easy enough to read on your end, or is it pretty small?
It's good.
That's fine.
All right, so what we're going to do, I'm going to grab my little handy dandy highlighter tool here. And as we go through this, if a word jumps out to you, I want you to tell us, and I'm going to highlight it. And then we're going to kind of keep building off one another. So we'll get the first word, and then we'll keep reading. We'll find the next word that kind of pops out to us, and then the next word and the next word, until we feel like we've kind of come up with a complete poem, for instance. you can keep in mind that we can take endings off of it. So if, you know, it's a plural word and it doesn't make sense to be plural in how we're building, we can take the S off or the ED or whatever. So let's get to creating here. Any words as you start reading through that jump out at you?
Opportunities.
So what would be a word that would make sense following this as we continue reading?
Recognized.
Potentials.
Through.
Expectations.
Maybe creative on that same line.
For creative expectation?
Choices.
Confidence.
Anything in that last line?
Success.
I'm going to read it as we've pulled it together to start, and then we can go back and see if we need to add in any kind of connecting words or language to make it flow. Right now it says, opportunities recognize potential through creative expectations, choices, confidence, success. What do you think? Thumbs up if we like how it sounds now and feel like it's got that powerful oomph. Thumb in the middle, maybe, if you're feeling like we could probably add in a thing or two.
I kind of like the way it,
Yeah,
I
me
like
too.
it. I like how we have three things at the end: choices, confidence, success.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to read it one more time. Let's see. Opportunities recognize potential through creative expectations, choices, confidence, success. Feeling good?
I'm pretty dang happy with that.
It sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
I think we did well.
I think so too.
What
So
a collaborative team.
yes,
Yes.
if we think through that a little bit more, what whoops, click the wrong thing here. What is this poem about to you? Like if we had to title this poem, what do you think it would be?
Choices.
Mm. Any other thoughts?
No limits. Limitless.
Opportunity.
Uh-huh.
Growth.
Mm.
So then what does this mean to you? How is this sitting? Because we're all kind of like on the same page, but also thinking a little bit differently about it, which is very, very interesting. Somebody asks you to describe this to them. Are you thinking through the lens of the teacher? Are you thinking a life lens? You know, how is this sitting with you today?
I see it as Dweck and growth mindset.
Mm.
So both from a personal and from a teaching standpoint.
I kind of see it as I just keep looking at that first phrase, opportunities recognize potential. And that sticks with me because a person may not know what they're capable of until they're given the opportunity to do it. So giving someone creative license and saying, try.
Yeah.
When you said that, it reminded me of the power of yet.
Mhm.
Mhm. That would be a good title.
Yeah, yeah.
Yet. And I'm drawn to creative expectations. I think sometimes we get bogged down in identifying deficits so much
Mhm.
that recalling the power of just expecting creativity, and it happens. Guess what? Amazing.
Mhm.
To allow that space for it.
I like the word creative expectations, that if we're thinking about the first part being you don't know until you are given the chance, that creative expectation makes it sound like, by the way, you can't get it wrong. Like whatever you do is going to be fine.
And I like how you say that, because that really does kind of tie into this activity well, because they're really like, I want you to kind of just think of all the things you guys are talking about right now and how you're building off of each other's thoughts and conversations. And that's like kind of a big, powerful moment of this type of activity, is allowing that dialogue to happen within your classroom and amongst your students. And I was really hoping to give you guys a chance, but I'm looking at the clock and I'm realizing it's already 5 o'clock, which, like, where did the time go? We probably won't get to that, but I would love to just take a minute to kind of reflect on this activity with you. So I'm going to stop again. And then I'm going to share again. And I'm not going to read all of these, but just take a look at some of these reflection questions. And if there's any that, well, I guess some of them won't make sense now that I'm thinking. Yeah, because we didn't get to our own poems, but you know, think about our poem. We talked about a little bit about our favorite parts. You know, how do you see yourself using this strategy, I guess, is our biggest question on here. But yeah. Hopefully that sparks some ideas in your head of ways to use it and connect it. And I do want to just end with this. If you don't have the Making Thinking Visible text, and if you haven't heard of Artful Thinking Strategies yet, I will try to add it into the notes section of these slides when I send it out. It's a great free resource of, you know, quick kind of engaging activities like this that just get your students talking. And I love this idea of don't judge your success on how smoothly the lesson went, but what was revealed in your students' thinking. And I think even in our small group of just a few teacher educators today, like in the brief 5 minutes that we had a chance to kind of talk through our poem, like the things you guys were thinking and saying and connecting were really great. And I thank you for your time, and it was so great to meet you guys, and definitely able to answer any questions if you have them, but I also want to be respectful of your time here.
Thank you, Lauren. It's been great to have you. Your very first main event as a co-presenter or presenter.
Yes.
Just excited to continue our work together. It's going to be awesome. So that does bring our session to a close today, unless there are any last minute questions for Lauren or questions for me, or any final thoughts before we say farewell today.
That was really interesting. I had never seen, I've done blackout poetry, but not virtually. So cool. Really.
Yeah. I will say Jamboard, if you don't use Jamboard, I've taught it through Jamboard, which is a great tool for them to use. What I did was I have it if we got to it, I was hoping, I had it copied like 20 times in a Jamboard, and then I would just share that with you and say, you know, find a page. If it's with students, I might say like each student has a number or
Okay.
something, and then I say, find your number, and then that becomes their creative page.
Cool.
And then we kind of end it with like, you know, a poetry slam, and they can all kind of read their unique poems or interpretations. And that's kind of where some of those reflection questions came from, of like, what did you like about what somebody else did? What would you have done differently? And it kind of opens up that dialogue even more on the artistic side and the choices that they made, as well as the meaning and connection and poem that they created.
Right. Thank you. That was really great.
Great. Any other questions or comments?
I have a lot of ideas already. Thank you.
Great.
That's wonderful. Well, friends, I just want to remind you, our next main event is November the 28th, where we are featuring Andrea Brandstetter and Cecile Galuzzo. And then Marilyn, I don't have your picture up here yet, but I'm going to get it for the January 30th. And just a reminder again, when we meet next month, it'll still be at 4 o'clock on November 28th. But then starting in January, we'll have our start time be 4:30 p.m. And I am so looking forward. Whoops, I think I accidentally clicked the link. Sorry about that. Let's go back where we were. Just to let you know, in case you didn't, we do have other professional learning communities sponsored by the Alliance. If you want any information about those, we invite you to be a part of that, and just reach out to me for more information. And finally, the Alliance is a 501c3. We do welcome donations from everyone and anyone at any time. And if there are people in your world that you think would like to support this, people in your experience, people in your network, please feel free to reach out to me, and I will be happy to get in touch with them to see if they would like to be a donor. If you need continuing education certificate, please let me know and I'll get that to you. And finally, there is a bit.ly link, which I'm going to place in the chat really quick, and it's also accessible through that QR code. I would love to have each of you respond to a very short survey. Where's my chat? There's my chat. And that's a link to the form. Only 3 questions, unless you've never filled out a form before. And then it does ask for some demographic information that some of our funders like to receive. Thanks for coming, everybody. I'm going to hang out if you want to ask me anything else for another few minutes. Otherwise, hope to see you next month at our next main event.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you so
everybody.
much. Y'all have a
Bye.
good evening.
Mhm.
Thank you.